Hey Aaron, you about ready to go?
Just one. Yep.
Oh gosh. What's going on?
Low back, hips, just tight.
Well, that's perfect timing because today we're going to go over the lower cross syndrome. Welcome back to another episode of Twins Talk Therapy. I'm Adam. This is Aaron. We are twin brothers with 30 years experience of massage therapy, physical therapy, and athletic training. And here we talk about all things sports, exercise, and therapy.
And have you ever noticed if you work a desk job or a job where you're sitting a lot during the workday, when you go to get up, you feel low back pain and just tightness and restriction in the hips? Well, that's commonly referred to as a condition known as lower cross syndrome, similar to the upper cross syndrome video we covered before, but this results in the underactive and overactive muscles within the lower body area. And so today we're going to cover exercises to help balance out those underactive and overactive muscles, and we're going to go over those muscles that are overactive and underactive now.
All right, guys, today we're going over the lower cross syndrome, and just like the upper cross syndrome, we're going to have a tight line. That's the A line here. We're going to have a weak line. So the A line, the muscles are over facilitated and tight. They get tight, crampy, they get stuck. The B line, these muscles aren't doing their job when we're in a certain posture for too long, and they get weak and inhibited. So the A line include muscles like the iliopsoas, which is a hip flexor, your hamstrings, some of your quads, your calf muscles, your thigh adductors, piriformis. Those are the muscles that are going to get tight and kind of spasmed up.
And so those B-line muscles that are going to be weak or maybe overstretched, it's going to include all our ab muscles. So think in the core in that seated position, they're just going to be underengaged. Also our glute muscles, so those butt muscles we're sitting on, they're not being activated, they're just being sat on and are underactive. The sides of our quads, and then the front of the shin, the muscles that run there, and along the side of the lower leg. So muscles that are underactive and muscles that are overactive in that seated position within the lower half of the body.
And so next we're just going to go over some exercises to help correct these muscle imbalances. Okay, so we're going to go over the exercises now for fixing lower cross syndrome. So first one up is the iliopsoas. Aaron, do you want to show that? It's just a deep hip flexor stretch. Yep. So you're going to get on one knee, so Aaron's going to do that. And you just want to lunge forward, opening up. That right hip is the one we're stretching. So the knee that's on the floor is the side you're stretching. Now you can accentuate this stretch by tucking your tailbone under and kind of rolling that pelvic bowl back. And then you can also lean towards the opposite side of what you're stretching. And that'll target right iliopsoas.
And I love that because a lot of people show this lunging forward, which doesn't target the iliopsoas as much as some of those lower back muscles start to get stretched. So staying tall, tucking that tail, and leaning. It really does. You feel it isolate the iliopsoas.
Oh yeah. Next one would be hamstrings. I think everyone's seen the classic hamstring stretch. You can do it with a partner. You can do it solo, putting your heel up on a stool or a lower bed like we have here, a couch, arm of a couch, anything like that, and just leaning forward.
And again, what I mentioned to my athletes, they like to lean to get that hamstring. And again, that takes it off the hamstring. So stay tall and lean forward here instead of rounding that low back, isolate the hamstrings.
Next one on the list, we're going to cover the erector spinae. Aaron, if you want to get on here and go ahead and go into child's pose. Now this is stretching the erector spinae muscles right here. So these are all these tight facilitated muscles we're going over right now, so they want to be stretched. They are in a spasmed facilitated state. And then you can accentuate that stretch just by sinking your glutes further towards your heels. And Aaron's going both arms to one side, so he's getting this right side more now. And then he can go to the other side and he'll be getting the left side of the erector spinae.
And it's important to just try to come out and reset before you go to each side, just so you don't strain the other side.
Aaron, you can roll over to your back and show a butterfly stretch, because the next one on the list is the thigh adductors. So Aaron can just push down on his knees to open those hips up more, and we're stretching the inside of the thigh muscles. And then next is a piriformis. So you can sit back. Aaron's crossing his right ankle over his left knee, so he's stretching that right piriformis muscle right in here. And that's a figure 4 stretch. You're reaching your hands through the hole of the figure 4, and you're pulling that left thigh towards your chest, and that stretches that right piriformis.
And you can increase it by being able to reach as flexibility allows. As you gain flexibility and reach and grab the shin and pull, but you can start by just grabbing the back of your thigh and pulling. And you can also modify by, if you have something to keep balance, and this is easier to here, and then you just sink down into that figure 4 stretch in a standing position.
And that does it for the tight facilitated muscles. Next, we'll go over the weak and inhibited muscles. There are other muscles on this infographic, but if you guys want to look at those at a later date.
All right, so now we're going to go over that B line, or those weak or inhibited muscles. So for the abdominal muscles, a lot of times we train here, but we're in a seated position, so we're already shortened. So we're going to want to strengthen these muscles with an eccentric load that's going to put more stress on that muscle and get a better strengthening result in a quicker period of time than going into that concentric contraction. So Adam, why don't you demonstrate some lunge exercises? Now these are through Trinamics.
We covered these in another video already.
Lynn and Ann teach worse, so just giving credit to where credit's due here.
So to eccentrically strengthen the rectus abdominis muscles, you're going to help the rectus abdominis wants to slow the movement in extension. So this would be eccentrically loading your rectus abdominis. And then you can do the same thing, twisting and getting into that rotation, stepping back and getting those obliques and transverse abdominis.
Perfect. So now we're going to go into those glutes that are underactive from the seated position a lot. So Adam, a simple exercise, want to do some body weight squats.
Yeah.
And when you're coming up, just really kind of squeezing and locking those glutes out.
So typical body weight squat is just like this. If you're watching this and you don't think you could handle this, you could do this at the counter, holding on to the counter, and just not go down quite as far. But for those of you that can get into a deep squat, you don't have to have heavy weight. Just body weight's good enough. And you're on the way up, you want to really kind of squeeze and activate those glutes.
Good. And then the other one is just standing, and you want to show just leg extension. Also activating those glutes.
So I'll stand to the side so you can see, keeping your knee straight, and you just drive your leg backwards, squeezing that glute at the top before you come back down.
And if needed to, for balance, a wall to support while you're doing that.
Correct. Same thing. You could stand at a counter, holding onto a counter, or hang onto a wall. You also want to get glute medius and minimus by doing some side abduction for those glute medius and minimus.
Perfect. And then last, let's go over the lower leg muscles. So let's go into some heel and toe raises to activate the calves.
I'll show you guys
front of the shins.
From both angles. You're just going heel raises and toe raises, and my feet are cracking like crazy, so this is good for mobility too. And then this is what it looks like from the side. You're just rocking back and forth. Again, if you're elderly or have balance issues, hold on to a counter. Do this in front of a counter, or have something to hang on to, a railing, so that you don't lose your balance.
And then last, did you want to demonstrate the cross crawl?
Yeah.
Last exercise Adam's going to demonstrate here is a cross crawl technique exercise, commonly referred to as bird dogs. It is going to help activate that abdomen or the core muscles. So this just works on balance by going contralateral leg and arm, just meaning opposite leg and arm. And maintaining balance and squeezing the core is going to help Adam stay stable and to not lose balance. And that's the last exercise for this video. Well, that concludes this video on lower cross syndrome. Again, we want to remind everyone the lower cross syndrome and upper cross syndrome come from Vladimir Yanda from back in the 70s. And Eric Dalton pulled that information into some material, including this poster image that you can check out at ericdalton.com. That's spelled ERIKDALTON.com.
And as always, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, share, hit the bell notification so you can be notified whenever we post a new video. And that wraps up today's episode, and we will see you next time.
See you next week.